Before I start this video, I want to say that the July wipe has been pushed to later in July with no date given. They announced it in the Discord and we don't know the exact date for it, so if you saw the video I made before the announcement, the date has changed. Anyways, here's the rest of the video. I hope you enjoy. Learning maps in any video game is difficult, but in a game where one bullet can instantly end your raid, it adds a whole other level of challenge. I'm no Spirit Wind, and in this video I want to help you better understand the maps of Ghost of Tabor, as well as how to master them. In this video I will be focusing on the Island of Tabor map. I will discuss the map's points of interest, its best loot areas, its PvP hotspots, and general map tips and knowledge I have accrued over my time playing the game. Let's start with the island's main points of interest. We have the Advantage Labs, the multiple military camps, the lighthouse, the prison camp, the boathouse, the Church of Fish, and the radio tower. All these different points have different variations in loot and AI spawns, so let's start with the Advantage building, also known as Labs. Labs has 3 different levels as well as a roof area and a parking garage basement. The loot here is some of the best in the entire map, but it also has the highest concentrated area of AI spawns. It has 6 guaranteed NRS spawns in the bathrooms on all floors. There are pockets of loot on nearly every single floor. There's also a chance to get an electronic wallet on the bar on the 2nd floor. These e-wallets have anywhere from 200 to 20,000 Karuna stored on them. The roof also houses lots of good loot that is really useful early wipe. Connected to the main building is the secondary garage. This building has some lower tier loot, but definitely something worth checking out. Below the garage is the parking garage. This has some smaller boxes and items. I think it's worth checking this area if you happen to spawn down there. Labs is a huge PvP hotspot early raid, as there are many different teams gunning for the best loot, as well as lots of AI that will drain your ammo supplies quickly. I would not recommend coming here alone, as it will be extremely difficult to survive. Labs is a really good place if you need to get Phoenix AI kills for trader quests, as there are a decent amount in the building itself, but once you clear out all those, you can head onto the roof and take out the ones in the surrounding area. All in all, this is a pretty good place for Phoenix kills and looting. If you're going to go to this location, bring lots of extra magazines and lots of extra meds. You'll need them. Next, let's look at the multiple military camps that are scattered around the map. These areas have little loot for little risk, but later in the wipe I don't even bother to loot them, as they usually don't have very high level loot. Let's move on to the lighthouse. The lighthouse has some of the best loot in the entire map. On the ground floor is a handful of loose items, but at the top is an armor box as well as a gun box. The lighthouse can either have some really good loot or no good loot at all. Really no in between. As of the latest update, this location only has 1 Phoenix spawn as far as I know, and I do recommend that you check it out early in the raid just to see if it has any good loot. Let's shift our focus to the prison camp, my personal favorite location. Prison camp has some of the best loot in Island, but it all comes at great risk. It has at least 7 Phoenix spawns and is a hotspot for PvP at all times in a raid. This area also has one of the only GPU spawns in Island of Tabor, as well as a gore pit with a York skull spawn. It also has many different buildings with gun boxes and ammo boxes. It also has the only orange keycard room on the map, so if you want to use a keycard, that's where you'd use it. Just like Labs, if you intend to go to this location, bring extra ammo and lots of meds. There's also 1 guaranteed NRS spawn inside the main building. Moving on to Radio Tower, this location has 2 Phoenix spawns, 1 NRS spawn, and lots of little desks and boxes that can be looted and can have anything from screws to gun attachments. This area is a good place to loot because it has little protection and the chance to get something really good is really high. This building is also very defendable if you happen to be attacked while in it. Overall, this is a good location to loot during your raids. Next, let's take a look at Church of Fish. This area has no Phoenix spawns, 1 NRS spawn on top of lots of little boxes and some armor boxes as well. This area is a good place to loot, although on some rotations of Island of Tabor, there is a spawn right next to it and it is usually looted early on into raids. I would say it is worth looting this location if you spawn right next to it, but other than that it's really not worth it as it is usually already looted. Lastly, let's take a look at Boathouse. This location is next to the Pier Boat Exfil. This area has an alright amount of boxes, but it does have 2 NRS spawns in the bathrooms on the 1st floor, has about 4 Phoenix spawns, but if you play it smart, it shouldn't be that hard to clear this building out. I usually like to loot this place if I'm extracting here. I don't go out of my way to loot it, as there are other places that have better loot. Now let's take a look at the PvP hotspots and little tricks around the map. So we have 3 main PvP hotspots around the map. Early raid, the military tents near the lighthouse are very active because of their central spot in the map. They connect a handful of different PMC spawns and they usually converge on this location. A good tip for these is just to sit on a hill outside the tents and wait for the other opponents to arrive. This will give you the upper hand in any fight. Another big PvP hotspot is the labs. Labs in itself is a PvP hotspot, but the area outside is also really hectic if you have a specific spawn. There's a PMC spawn in the center of this PvP hotspot, so you can either run as far as you can, get out of this area, or my personal favorite, hunker down and wait for the chaos. My most successful raid to date was at this spawn. 7 player kills in one raid and 5 of them in that location alone. This area around the mountain is very easily defendable and can be a good place to rack up those player kills for quests. Moving on to the last PvP hotspot is the prison camp and its surrounding area. This is really the only location on the map that is consistently being occupied by players. There are some really nice mountains nearby that give you the upper hand when it comes to combat. These mountains to the south side of the camp have a great view of the whole surrounding area. I never go into prison camp through the gates or the broken down walls. The reason for this is because it puts you in a position where you can get pinned down extremely easily and killed by a player on that mountain. My recommendation for this area has to be going on the mountain. Never go through the gate. Lastly, I want to complete a raid on the Island of Tabor to show you guys how I would play through a raid myself. I will complete this raid in the offline mode just to make it a bit easier on myself, but the same things will still apply. Alright, so we have spawned just south of the prison camp. So on this spawn of prison camp, I would never go directly in or around and through any of the sides or the holes in the wall. The reason for that is you can really easily get pinned. That's when it becomes very, very difficult to get out of that type of situation. This is where you would find York's skull and whatnot. It would be right in here. No, unfortunately no spawn for me, but it would be right down there. Let's check for that GPU spawn. It'll be right up there in the top, inside the office on top of the desk. Here's that NRS spawn right there. Take that. And the GPU should spawn right on the desk here, but this is also something good to check out. You can find some attachments, some junk. This could be worth, I believe, anywhere from 200 to about 10,000 Karuna. Depends. And some loot here. Now this here is another place where people usually just go right up there, except that up there has an angle on you, so you'd want to go up this hill instead, just to avoid that entirely. And you can just see if there's anybody coming after you or whatnot. You can have a good angle on them, take some shots off. Here we have a really good view, although this is an extremely dangerous spot, and going down in that valley is also extremely dangerous, but I do usually take that risk because it's the only way to get to that side of the map without rotating all the way around, and that whole side over there is probably just as unsafe as this here. This is where that electronic wallet would be right down here in one of these cubbies. So just make sure to check that out whenever you do enter into a raid and plan to go to labs. Here's another hidden loot area. This one has a lot actually. That shouldn't be here, or I mean it is here, but that just goes to show how good the loot here is. There's a tier 4 armor back there, one of the best in the game. Power bank. Water bottle. SKS. Very nice. And a tackle box. Well, that's obviously not going to be the same when you go in, but in terms of quality of loot, it should be very similar. And on every floor, including the one I just passed, there are these bathrooms that have not just one, but 2 NRS spawns on each, one in each bathroom. Right there. Let's keep going. Now we are on the roof of labs, and here we have some of the best loot in the entire map is here. you have vantage points to most of the map beneath you from up here. Here's that garage I was talking about. It's connected right here, and it has some mid-tier loot. Just drop down right onto there. Uh-oh. And you can just drop down right here. Remember, in the unforgiving world of Ghosts of Tabor, knowledge is power. Understanding the unique characteristics of each point of interest can be the difference between survival and perishing in the shadows. Stay vigilant, hone your skills, and as always, good luck out there. No Spirit Wind out.